Welcome to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. July is the Extreme Thrills issue of WDW Magazine, which leads us to this magical moment from our archives. Expedition Everest, Thrills, Spills, and Secrets by Jamie Catanach, which first appeared in issue 84, September 2020. Deep in the heart of Asia, Mother Nature holds a secret close to her chest. A mountain towering above the landscape which only the bravest explorers dare approach. Streaked with glaciers and shrouded in mystery, few will ever experience its thrills for themselves. If you thought Mount Everest, you'd be right. Unfortunately, you don't need to fly all the way to Nepal to visit. Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain, is a classic roller coaster ride rising imposingly over Animal Kingdom's Asia. And just like its 29,000-foot namesake, you'd better have guts if you want to take it on, especially since the mountain is home to none other than the fearsome Yeti. Opened back in April of 2006, Expedition Everest isn't exactly a new ride, but that doesn't make it any less exciting. With a maximum speed of 50 miles an hour and an 80-foot drop along its twisting, turning track, this ride is well suited to those with a strong spirit of adventure. But before we dive into the ride itself, let's take a step back to marvel at its history and construction, because Expedition Everest has been a record breaker as long as it's been around. Originally announced in 2003 as part of Animal Kingdom's 5th anniversary celebration, the ride is the tallest in any Walt Disney park in the world, 199 feet, as tall as they could go without requiring the installation of an airplane beacon. The steel roller coaster took 3 years to build and required more than 38 miles of rebar. A whopping 5,000 tons of structural steel and 10,000 tons of concrete went into its construction, as did $100 million, making it the most expensive roller coaster in the world, per 2011's Guinness World Records. It was only recently eclipsed by another Orlando favorite, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, which opened in 2019 and cost an estimated $300 million to design and implement. When the Imagineers decided they wanted to put a roller coaster in Animal Kingdom, they knew they needed to somehow seamlessly incorporate it into the park's story and atmosphere. So they created a mountain-themed roller coaster based on one of the most famous mountains there is, Everest, the tallest mountain on our planet. Of course, such a special place isn't easy to get to, and it's also protected by the Yeti, who calls these craggy peaks his home. In the course of the ride, guests get up close and personal with the Yeti himself, which brings us to one of this ride's most infamous features. Expedition Everest is home to a gigantic animatronic Yeti that esteemed Disney designer Joe Rohde announced was the single biggest dynamic figure that has ever been built. There is nothing that is this big that moves this fast in the world of animation. The Yeti measures 25 feet tall, can perform 19 different movement functions, and has the largest range of movement in Disney animatronic history. The construction of the Yeti was also one of the biggest reasons for the high overall cost of creating the ride, and unfortunately, only a slim portion of riders have ever seen it in action. Shortly after the ride opened in 2006, Disney discovered a structural problem in the concrete base supporting the Yeti, making it impossible to safely operate. These days, the Yeti operates under Plan B, or what some members of the Disney community affectionately refer to as Disco Yeti. Although the Yeti remains static, a strobe light is used to create the illusion of movement as riders zip past the animatronic. Because the problem is located deep in the heart of the mountain, fixing the Yeti would require an extended refurbishment and closure period that has not yet been scheduled. Joe Rohde has, however, vowed that he will one day make sure the Yeti works again, so stay tuned. It could happen. The story of your mountain journey begins before you even get into the line itself. The restrooms and buildings along the way to this attraction are themed to look like hotels and outfitters that cater to the ever-increasing stream of Forbidden Mountain tourists. Tibetan prayer flags line the walkway as you enter the queue, which is presented under the guise of the Himalayan Escapes Travel Agency. They're ready and waiting to shuttle you off to your doom. Adventure. Expedition Everest can be accessed via standby line and is also eligible for FastPass Plus selection. There's a single rider line as well, though it skips all of the exhibits presented to other riders. After visiting the main office of Himalayan Escapes, riders will wander through a courtyard strewn with statues and shrines depicting the Yeti. Follow the queue into a gear shop, which also serves as the shopkeeper's home, a detail designed by Imagineers to reflect what life is like in Nepal, where space is limited. Among the wares available for eager explorers, you can also see the shopkeeper's bed and stove, as well as his framed picture of the king and queen keeping watch over the scene. Then you'll wander through the Yeti Museum, which you may notice is a repurposed tea-drying room. You can still see the faded sign on the wall. Today, however, it's filled with artifacts and information about the Yeti, including 2 molds of his impressive footprint. Some of the objects and images in the cases are the results of actual trips the Imagineers took to Nepal. There's even a commemorative piece given to Joe Rohde by Sir Edmund Hillary, the famed New Zealand mountaineer who was the first confirmed climber to reach the summit of the real Mount Everest, with the help of his Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay. Of course, all of these details might reasonably inspire some fear, but a glance at the sign on the way out of the dome should be at least a little reassuring. Himalayan Escapes wants you to know that everything's going to be fine. Just fine. So, ready for your expedition? As you step into the roller coaster cars, you'll notice they're made to look like historic steam trains, but have no fear, this attraction is all modern-day technology, which it needs to be given its thrills and spills. Your journey chugs along outdoors for a short time, giving you a beautiful view of the Forbidden Mountain and its waterfall, before you're pulled inexorably toward the mountain itself. You travel through the rugged terrain of the glaciated peaks until the track abruptly stops. It looks as though it's been ripped away. What or who could have caused such destruction? You'll soon learn the answer as the coaster zips backward, and you come face to face with the Yeti for yourself. By the way, if you're the adrenaline junkie type who's usually clamoring to sit in the front row, you should know about a very special secret shared with WDW Magazine by 20-year-old Ethan Wood of Willis, Michigan. When he and his group approached the boarding area, they were disappointed to be shunted to the very back of the vehicle, until a cast member let them in on this exciting little trick. During the portion of the ride when the coaster is going backward, if you close your eyes and lean forward, you'll feel like you're somersaulting forward. It felt like, I don't even know, said Wood, who rode the ride at least 6 times that trip. He also mentioned that the back row experiences less of a lag when going over large hills, so it's a good bet on any major thrill ride or roller coaster. Of course, if you're like most of us, your first concern will simply be surviving this thrilling adventure and living to tell the tale. Not many explorers are lucky enough to come so close to the Yeti and leave with their lives intact even once, let alone a 2nd, 3rd, or 6th time. The good news? Even if you're not sure you're up for joining the more spirited members of your party for this exhilarating adventure, you can enjoy it from the ground. Sit back, grab an ice cream from a nearby food truck, and simply gaze at the marvel of Mount Everest, truly a wonder of Walt Disney World. You have been listening to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. When you need more Walt Disney World in your life, WDW Magazine has you covered. Beautiful photography, entertaining articles, and stunning keepsake issues you will enjoy time and time again. Subscribe to WDW Magazine and escape with us every day.